I automated my trading for 1,400 days and it changed my life. Now, here's the thing about automation. It's kind of like a superpower. The world's best traders back it up too. Renaissance Technologies, which was Jim Simon's fund, one of the greats in the quantitative trading world, returned 66% annually for 30 years on average using fully automated systems. Now, here is his tables of results kind of per year, at least that's the kind of public info shown. Now, there is, I think, around a 20 to 30% performance fee. So after performance fee, the average was around 33% per year. But that is still incredible compounding growth, especially over such a long time horizon. Now, he wasn't the only one to use automated systems. Many of the top performing hedge funds like Two Sigma, Citadel, DE Shaw run algorithms and don't trade based on gut feelings. Now, Jim Simons famously said, we don't override the models ever. And this is what I try to live by as well. It's like having a personal robot, but instead of second guessing every trade like I used to, it simply executes perfectly even while you sleep. Now, automation doesn't just help with consistent execution and consistent profitability, at least in my case, it also makes you think better. From my experience, systematic trading eliminates the mental fatigue that comes with the constant decision making. Trading can be one of the most taxing things on the mind because especially in your earlier years, a lot of adrenaline is coming through when you're making those decisions. If you're stuck there watching every single tick on a price chart, it may feel like you're only making a decision every 30 minutes, 1 hour whenever you're trading, but technically every time you're in a trade, every single second that's going on and price is slightly moving, you're making a cognizant decision if you're not being systematic or algorithmic around it. And this is why with automation, you get a lot clearer thinking because you're not burning through mental energy on every single trade execution and watching the chart all day. So whether it's trend following, mean reversion setups, or just basic risk management, automating your trading might just be the easiest thing to level up your results. Now, the reason I say this is because algorithmic trading and building systematic approaches has become a staple part of my everyday trading life. And to be exact, for about over 1,400 days. My daily routine now looks like that I wake up, I check my overnight positions, I review my strategy performance, and let my systems do the heavy lifting while I focus on further research and development. After all these years, I can confidently say it has changed my life for the absolute better, and I've never shamed away from saying that I'm not a very good discretionary trader. My skills have definitely come in coding, development, and research. I like to think in data, and that's where I apply this into my own trading. So in today's video, I want to break down my favorite tools and systems to make this possible if you're also looking to do the same. Now, first, let's go over the platform stack. So for the most part, I use NinjaTrader 8. This is my execution engine for all future strategies. Now, despite its quirks, and trust me, there are some, it's been rock solid for deployment. The backtesting and optimization and walk forward testing capabilities are generally quite good. Now, if you're unsure of some of these words, I'm going to try and break them down later when I go over my backtesting overview and how I try and develop systems. Now, with NinjaTrader 8, I've never really had execution issues, and deploying on VPSs is pretty easy because NinjaTrader 8 is quite a well-known platform, at least for the most part. So you can find VPS providers quite easily if you don't want to set it up by yourself on like AWS. Now, the next part is Python and Polygon API. Now, this is what I normally use for equities research. This is normally in the small cap space, but it can be also for large cap strategies. So when I need to dive deep into data or develop new strategies, this is normally my playground for equities. Now, Polygon does offer other markets. They offer options market. They do offer currencies, I believe, and also crypto. Now, I haven't tested out their other data as much, but at least from my experience with it, it hasn't been as good as other kind of providers that are very focused on that particular market. So I like to try and normally pick a provider that's hyper-focused on one particular market, such as Polygon was originally quite hyper-focused on equities, which in my opinion, they've absolutely crushed on the retail side of things. And then for options, I maybe use a data provider called Feta Data. And then if I'm looking for fundamental sort of info, I'm normally looking at financial modeling prep. They're not always the most accurate, but at least on the retail side, if you don't want to pay enterprise, that's probably the best you can get. Now, the next one is Python plus Binance or Hyperliquid API. So as maybe if you've watched any of my recap videos of like my kind of performance, I've been getting more into crypto over this past year and a bit, maybe year and a half. And so for anything crypto related, this is where I'm testing new ideas or automating execution. And most of the time, this is on simple risk premiums like trend following, but I'm normally executing either via Binance or Hyperliquid. And this is still quite small size, but at least from my experience with their APIs, it's been amazing. Now, the next thing is data foundation. So I've already touched upon this a bit, but I want to provide a bit more information. So most traders get this wrong, that they think all data is the same, especially if you haven't come from a data background. It can be very easy to believe, well, this provider looks solid. I bet their financial data is, accurate and similar to what I'm seeing on the charts. It is very rarely the case for the most part. So to break down what I use and some of the cons and pros of each. So for futures data, I use Kinetic. For futures data, if you're going through a platform, so let's say NinjaTrader, let's say Sierra Charts, etc., for the most part, they're going to offer you pretty good, reputable providers that can provide you very good real time and sometimes historical data as well. In my opinion, Kinetic has been one of the better ones from my experience. Now, you might be thinking maybe you want futures data via an API. Via an API at the moment is quite costly to get accurate and also a lot of historical data. So normally I'm going through a platform like NinjaTrader, for example, where I'm coding up my strategies and backtesting on that platform. And then if I have to do something custom, I'm exporting out some data to do it via Python. And then for equities, I'm using Polygon as mentioned before. Both of these cases, you have very nice, clean, survivorship bias-free data. And that is really the core thing you want when buying data. And you also want accuracy, but you do need to keep in mind, finance data is not standardized, meaning that depending on the platform and how they're aggregating that data, if it's direct market data, and how they're classifying trades, there might be differences in volume, price, etc. Now, normally these are quite small differences, but you're never going to be able to get 100% accuracy unless you're paying enterprise top dollar. So the main thing I would say on the retail side of things you want to look for is make sure that it's very clean, easy to use, and that it's survivorship bias free. Now, why this is so important is bad data equals garbage strategies. And I've learned this the hard way, especially when I was getting started. I had a lot of bad data providers for the most part. And, it's just something you come through and test and learn. What I would recommend is you normally need at least 5 years of historical data across different market cycles. Now, the more samples you test over, the better for your statistical significance. So what that means is if you have a very low frequency strategy, let's say it's a swing strategy, maybe you're taking 10, 12 trades a year, you're going to need a lot more than 5 years of data. If you're doing something intraday, then normally 5 years can maybe be enough. But that's kind of the ballpark where I'd say, at least try to aim for this. Now, as mentioned, I do have some enterprise plans, but for most newcomers, I'd say these are really not needed. These are kind of the main stack I use. And the only thing I've forgotten here is crypto, but crypto you can get pretty much from any exchange. What I'd recommend is Binance or Hyperliquid. Next is risk management. So you've got a couple different levels here. And I think the first one most people really forget about, and this is broker level safeguards. So most of the time, depending on your broker, you can set up a max loss limit. You can set up max number of positions, position size controls. And what you want that to be is your broker should be the last line of defense. And ideally, you shouldn't make it something that's very easy to change. Some brokers, depending on how much size you're using and how much commission you're paying, they'll sometimes let you set up custom things like that you have to call them and confirm that you want to change it, or you can't change it in the same day. And I think, especially when you're getting started, these need to be set up, because the worst thing you can do, especially I know this from experience, many times in my first year, I would have a big loss day. And what would I want to do? Well, I'd want to reload the account as fast as possible and double the size and try and make that money back. That is the worst thing you can ever do. And you need to have broker level safeguards to prevent you from making irrational decisions like that, especially if you're still a discretionary trade. Next is strategy level stop. So most of you guys will be familiar with this. So if you have predetermined exit criteria, whether that be ATR, time-based, whatever really fits the strategy type, but you obviously want that risk management as well. And then next, you want portfolio level diversification. So this is more, I would say, is going to the end goal of what you're working towards. But this is the real holy grail in trading. It's not some one strategy that wins across all markets. I've never seen that to ever exist. What you want is multiple uncorrelated strategies running simultaneously. So these could be some trend following strategies. These could be some mean reverting, different timeframes, different instruments, different markets, etc. And this will give you better risk adjusted returns, especially if they are low correlation or uncorrelated. And ultimately, this will help you with your risk management, because when one strategy is in a hefty drawdown, another strategy, if it's uncorrelated, will most likely be making up for those returns. And that can basically soften your drawdown and sometimes, be more enough than you're actually in profit. Now, the next thing is the backtesting framework. So this is another key area a lot of traders fall victim to. They optimize way too aggressively, meaning that they curve fit to historical data and wonder why their amazing backtest results fail live. Now, I kind of got this graph here that kind of demonstrates this. So what you have is model complexity, and then you have error rate. In this case, we can kind of rename this to performance, etc., or Sharpie ratio, whatever you want to say. And then you have this kind of line of best fit. So you don't want to be underfitting, but you also, most dangerously, you don't want to be overfitting. Now, in my opinion, humans tend to always overfit, meaning it's very rare for someone to underfit. So most of the time, I don't lean too much on that side of things of being worried about underfitting a strategy. Most of the time, people are adding way too many parameters, way too many things on top of each other. to try and get the best performance historically. And what this really means is if you have very high overfitting, you have amazing historical results, but then your live results when you put this live on the actual markets is going to be terrible. Now, to give you a bit of a quick overview of my process of how I try and fix for this, my first thing is I do idea generation first. I'm not doing data mining. Now, this is most common if you're a developer. Now, I'll say if you want to get into algorithmic trading and systematic trading, you do not need to be a developer in any case. But if you are, I see a lot of people go straight to data mining. Now, I think this is because it's kind of flashy, it's new, you think you're a bit smarter than everyone else if you put some machine learning or something like that on top of it. But what this often leads to is you find a lot of great historical, performance, but nothing really ever works live. And that's because ultimately, if you're employing machine learning, you're fitting to historical data. Now, it becomes more complex to try and make that not the case, where for most retail side of things, I just don't think you ever really need to add that much complexity. Now, if you want to go down that path and really get better at machine learning, then I'd look into Ernest Chan and Timothy Masters. But for the most part, I would say, stick with idea generation first, which means you have an idea either from experience, from seeing something online, from a book, etc., and then you're testing that. Then you want to do a backtest or a walk forward optimization. Now, walk forward optimization primarily means we have two buckets of data. We have out of sample data. So let's just say this is one bucket, and then we have in-sample data. Now, this will be in-sample data, and this will be out-of-sample data. So first, we have in-sample data. Let's say it's 30 days. We're going to optimize that strategy parameter values for that 30 days, meaning we're going to try and find the highest performance of those parameter values. So let's say it's a moving average crossover. Let's say it's 55 and 25 as the two moving averages for a crossover that have the best performance during that time. Then we're going to test those parameter values on out-of-sample data. So new data that the optimization has never seen. And then we're repeating this process on a rolling basis. And we're adding up all of these out-of-sample performances into one equity curve so that we can see, well, out-of-sample, it's performed like this. Now, you don't always need to do a walk forward optimization. I think it depends on the strategy, how much data you have, etc. As I kind of mentioned here, but for the most part, I would try and aim to do walk forward optimization. You basically run it once and see how it performs. And if it's got terrible out of sample performance, then I normally kind of leave it. Maybe I'll do some very small tweaks here and there, but I'm not trying to push it to work as amazingly as possible. Next is you have robustness testing. So after that test, you want to check parameter sensitivity, Monte Carlo simulations. I have other videos dedicated to both of these techniques. So if you want to check those out after this video, feel free to. Then you want to do some forward testing. So this is what I normally do on a sim account or on a very small capital account. This will normally be from 1 to 2 months, but that depends on sample size. But normally, I'd say that's a fair ground. What you're really looking for there is that does it hold up similar performance? And is there any assumptions you've missed, whether that be the amount of slippage, the commissions, etc. And then I'm scaling live deployment if everything checks out, and I'm just kind of adding more capital until it's at its full application. Now, if you want my full backtesting process, including code templates that you can use, feel free to check out the first link in the description. It's pretty much everything I know about backtesting and finding solid strategies for systematic and algorithmic trading. Now, the next part is the mobile command center, what I like to call it. So when I'm traveling or out and about, I have alerts set up pretty much for everything. So position entries, exits, system errors, etc. Simply put, my phone kind of becomes a mission control or a laptop or whatever I'm kind of remote desktoping into my main either servers or my main desktop. I'd also recommend to maybe have some VPS backup systems, ensuring my strategies, kind of keep running in the background if my home internet goes down. This was a case quite a while ago, and that's why I moved everything over to VPSs. This must have been like 3 years ago or something, but it can be something that's very worthwhile. As I kind of mentioned here, I lost 1,700 in a day due to a connection issue, which was a very brutal lesson. So having redundancies in place is quite important. Now, I will say this is for the later stage. Don't get overly mixed up in this. If it's your first system or your first algorithmic system, really don't worry about it, in my opinion. Now, as a TLDR, after 1,400 days of systematic trading, I can tell you with certainty, not every trader is destined to be a discretionary trader. I know I wasn't. And I've spoken now to many, many traders, whether that be people I've worked with automating their strategy or through the Backtest Bootcamp, or whether that just be through like kind of catch-up calls with other traders I meet on Twitter. And for a time, I thought, well, discretionary is the only path for me. But that really doesn't mean you can't make it in trading if you're not good at being a discretionary trader. So whether you're starting out with a very simple moving average crossover or building your 15 strategy, to give you the principles that primarily remain the same is one, keep it simple but robust. Test everything thoroughly, diversify your approach, automate what you can, and then slavishly use your models, as Jim Simon says.